Hello, I'm Andrew Fryer, and in part 2 of my series Beyond Relational in SQL Server, I want to look at using FileTable. In part 1 I set it up, and just as a quick recap, if I go into Properties here and look at Advanced, you can see there is a file stream file share name, and that's new for SQL Server Denali. If I now go and open Windows Explorer and browse the virtual machine where I installed Denali 1, you can see that share. If I go into it, it's got a directory underneath it called FileTable. If I expand databases in Management Studio, I've got the database I created last time, and if I look at its properties and look at its options, you can see that FileTable is specified as the file stream directory name. While I'm in here, if I go down and look at the FileTable I created last time called myDecs and look at its properties, you can see the FileTable directory name is set as myDecs. So it's no surprise that when I drill down into FileTable here is a folder called myDecs. So the table sits within the database, sits within the instance, and in the file management world, the FileTable lives in a directory for the database, which lives in a share that we set up for the instance, which lives on the virtual machine where SQL Server is installed. I give a lot of presentations at SQL Bits, TechEd, to various user groups, and internally to customers when they come to see us. I thought it'd be quite fun to put all my decks in here and then see what I could do with them. I've got those on another share. Here they are. Just grab that lot, go into my decks, paste them in. That's just going to take a few seconds because I am actually copying across a remote desktop session, and there's a couple of gigs of data there just to make it a bit real. And there's my stuff. Now for the interesting bit. If I now have a look at the data that's in this table now, which was completely empty before. Here is a row for every one of the files I've just copied in. We've got these predefined columns already there for us, the name of the file itself, some GUIDs, the file type, which is going to be interesting because we want to use that later. And you can see things about directories and so on. Now the sharp-eyed amongst you might have noticed that my filing on my laptop isn't perfect, and there are a few other odds and ends in here, and I'm going to get rid of those. In fact, I'm going to get rid of anything that's not a later version of PowerPoint, and I can do that with a simple query. I'm just going to delete from myDecs where file type not equal to pptx. I'll just execute that. 16 rows affected. Going back into my FileTable share now and refreshing that. Now it takes a few seconds, and you can see it happening as I'm going here on my screen, but these files are gradually disappearing. As in the background, SQL Server goes around and tidies up. However, if we made a backup at this point in time, only the files that are referred to in the table would actually be backed up, and the versions of those files as well. So these files are under the control of SQL Server now, as we've just seen, but I can still edit them. Rename them, open it in PowerPoint. Maybe I need to edit this, now that SQL Server Denali is on its way, to reflect some of the new features in there. But I haven't got time for that now. But what's actually going on here? That share, MS SQL Server, FileTable, myDecs, is kind of an artificial construct that SQL Server has thrown up. Where are these files? What's going on behind the scenes? In order to answer that question, we need to jump back into Management Studio, and if I look at the script that I used to create the database, the line in here contains file stream name equals file stream file group, file name equals file stream badly spelled FG, gives us a clue to where those files might be. If I jump onto the virtual machine that I've got Denali installed on, here, and open File Manager and go into the C drive, you can see that file stream FG is a directory that's been created by SQL Server. Underneath that are a whole load of files, and the name here will correspond to a row in the FileTable database that we've just been looking at. So the files are actually stored on disk, but the key thing to note is that when I back this database up or restore it, from a backup, that all of those files, the latest versions, the ones referred to in the file table, will be picked up as part of the backup process and included in the backup. You can elect not to do that, of course, by excluding or including file groups on the way, and there is a file group, as we've just seen, especially storing the file stream data. So this shows how FileTable builds on top of the file stream work that's in earlier versions of SQL Server. In my next couple of videos, we're going to look at searching the content that we've now put into FileTable.